leveling up your character can always be pretty stressful when you want your character to fit that certain vibe, that certain build, that feel that you have in your head. A great way when you're leveling up is to pick the subclass that you think fits your feel the best. So what we're going to be doing over the next few episodes, over this next series that we have going on, is going over the subclasses of the different classes. That way you can pick the one that fits yours best. So I'm going to start with the player's handbook, and we're also going to be starting with Sorcerer today. If you have any questions on where you think your character could go, or any questions about the subclasses, please leave a comment or shoot us a DM, and we can certainly help you out with any character builds or questions. Thank you very much, and we'll get right into it. Dang it, another one? So starting off, we've got the Aberrant Sorcerer. They get their powers from the astral plane. One of the level 3 abilities for the Aberrant Sorcerer is their psionic spells. So at 3rd level, they get Arms of Hadar, Calm Emotions, Detect Thoughts, Dissonant Whispers, and Mind Sliver. Then at level 5, they get Hunger of Hadar, Sending. Then at level 7, they get Evard's Black Tentacles and Summon Aberration. And then at level 9, they get Rary's Telepathic Bond and Telekinesis. At level 3, they also get Telepathic Speech, which allows them to connect their mind with a creature and communicate with them telepathically. You're able to do this with a number of miles equal to your charisma modifier, and you guys have to be able to speak the same language to be able to communicate, which normally isn't an issue if it's player to player. All players get common as their base language, so that shouldn't ever be a problem. And then it also lasts a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level. At level 6, we get Psionic Sorcery, which whenever you cast a spell that is 1st level or up from the Psionic Spells feature, you can cast it expending a spell slot or spending a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. If you cast it using sorcery points, you don't have to do verbal or somatic components, and the only material components that you'd have to use is ones that are consumed by the spell. So that means that you can basically do it and no one around you is gonna really be able to tell that you're casting a spell, which is very, very cool. Also at level 6, we get Psychic Defenses, which gives you resistance to psychic damage and advantage on saving throws to avoid or end charmed or frightened conditions. At level 14, you get Revelation in Flesh, which just allows you to give yourself adaptations from the way that you have your sorcery in you. So, as a bonus action, you can spend 1 sorcery point or more to magically alter your body for 10 minutes, and that can go up if you spend more sorcery points. You can do Aquatic Adaptation, Glistening Flight, Sea Invisibility, or Worm-like Movement. If you get Aquatic Adaptation, it gives you swim speed, and you're able to breathe underwater. If you do Glistening Flight, you get a fly speed, and your skin glistens with mucus of otherworldly light. Sea Invisibility, you can see invisible creatures. That one's pretty straightforward on that one. And your eyes turn black and become writhing sensory tendrils. And then worm-like movement, your body and any equipment that you're wearing becomes slimy and pliable, and you can move through any space as narrow as an inch, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or the grappled condition, which is very, very nice. So these are all things that just buff your body in some sort of way. Then at level 18, we have Warping Implosion, which you can teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 120 feet of yourself. Immediately after you disappear, each creature within 30 feet of the space you left must make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, they take 3d10 force damage and are pulled straight toward the space that you left, ending in an unoccupied space as close to your former space as possible. On a successful save, they take half of that damage, and then it just comes back when you finish a long rest, unless you spend 5 sorcery points to restore the use of it. So that's a nice little thing where you just teleport away and cause damage to the creatures that were around you, which is always fun, always nice, and kind of gives that like black hole feel, which is always a cool flavor thing. Next up is going to be our Clockwork Sorcerer. They get their power from Mechanics, and it is the clockwork realm that runs off of that efficiency. So a lot of their mechanics is going to be based off of being efficient. At 3rd level, they get their clockwork spells, and they get Aid, Alarm, Lesser Restoration, Protection from Good and Evil. And then at level 5, they get Dispel Magic and Protection from Energy. At level 7, they get Freedom of Movement and Summon Construct. At level 9, they get Greater Restoration and Wall of Force. Also at level 3, they get Manifestations of Order, which is basically just flavor text for your sorcerer on how their connection to this realm affects their body or their magic. And so the chart is here where they have a spectral cogwheels hover behind you, the hands of a clock spins in your eyes, your skin glows with a brassy sheen, floating equations and geometric objects overlay your body. Your spellcasting focus temporarily takes the form of a tiny clockwork mechanism, or the ticking of gears or ringing of a clock can be heard by you and those affected by your magic. So that's just a little flavor text for you. Of course, you can make up your own and how this affects your body or your magic, but this is just some ideas that you can build off of there as well, which is always very fun to have within a subclass. But also at level 3, they also get Restore Balance, which allows you to basically negate either advantage or disadvantage for a creature, and you can use this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. So say that this sorcerer is fighting a rogue, and this rogue has advantage on hitting you, which is really bad for you. You can just say, nope, they don't get advantage, and they don't get sneak attack on me, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. At level 6, they get Bastion of Law, which you can tap into Grand Equation of Existence and imbue a creature with Shimmering Shield. Say that 10 times fast. With a Shimmering Shield of Order. You can basically put up a ward over a creature and reduce the number of hit points lost when they're taking damage and help keep them up in a battle. At level 14, you have Trance of Order, which as a bonus action, you can enter a state and attack rolls can't benefit from advantage against you, and whenever you make a d20 test, you can treat the roll of 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10, which is, again, really nice to have. Then at level 18, which is the capstone for this subclass, you get Clockwork Cavalcade, which you get to summon a bunch of spirits that look like constructs or modrons, and they come through and they can heal you for 100 hit points, and you can spread that out between the party of anyone that's within 30 feet of you. They can also repair any damaged objects that are in the cube, or dispel any spells that are of 6 or lower that are within that cube as well, that are affecting the creatures that you would like them. Next up is the Draconic Sorcerer, which is one of my favorite subclasses in all of D&D. I just think it's one of the coolest, flavor-wise, mechanics-wise. I love this subclass so much, which is why we kind of started with Sorcerer, because I could not wait for this one. I know it's going to be a surprise here. Draconic Sorcerers get their magic from dragons. How it transfers into your blood or your soul is a whole other issue, and that's for getting your backstory down pat. At level 3, their first subclass feature is Draconic Resistance, which gives you 1 extra hit point per level of sorcery that you have. So at this point, you'd have 3 extra hit points. It also gives you an armored defense, which makes your AC equal to 10 plus your dexterity plus your charisma. And seeming you're a charisma caster, this can make you very bulky, where you could be a sorcerer with a 20 AC with no magic items. Also at level 3, we have the Draconic spells. So you get Alter Self, Chromatic Orb, Command, and Dragon's Breath at level 3. You get Fear and Fly at level 5. You get Arcane Eye and Charm Monster at level 7. And at level 9, you get Legend Lore and Summon Dragon. Which Summon Dragon, again, one of my favorite spells within the game. Who doesn't want a dragon? And being able to just roll up, fly in a dragon right on through, and doing some big damage. It's not as strong as a dragon you might fight, but it still is very, very fun. And so that's another reason I love this subclass. At level 6, we get Elemental Affinity. So whatever type of dragon you chose to be connected to your backstory, you get resistance to that type of damage. And spells that deal damage of that type, you can add your charisma modifier to that damage as well. So say you are a red dragon lineage Draconic Sorcerer. You'd have resistance to fire damage, and your fireball would do even more damage. At level 14, you get Dragon Wings. As a bonus action, you can cause Draconic Wings to appear from your back, and they last for an hour or until you dismiss them. And you get a flying speed. And then at level 18, you get a Dragon Companion, which when you cast Summon Dragon, you can do it without using material components, and you can also cast it without using a spell slot, and you gain the ability to cast it in this way when you finish a long rest. Whenever you cast this spell, you don't have to worry about concentration for it. If you do it that way, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute for that casting. So I think that this subclass does a lot of mechanics-wise and flavor-wise. You can even give yourself scales from the Draconic Sorcery. There's a lot of ways you can play this one. It is one of my favorites. I've played multiple characters that are Draconic Sorcerers. Love them all. Lastly, we have Wild Magic Sorcery, which they get their magic from something that was chaotic, whether it be demons or fae. They get their magic from that, and that's how they pull their magic from. At level 3, they get Wild Magic Surges. So anytime that you cast a spell, you roll a d20, and if you roll a 20, you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, and something wild happens during that time. It could range from you growing a beard to you causing a fireball at 5th level, I think, exploding from you. So it can lead to really bad results, but it could also lead to some good results as well. Next, you have Tides of Chaos, which you can give yourself advantage on a roll, and then if you want to do it again before a long rest, you can cast a sorcerer spell, but you have to roll on the Wild Magic table to do it again. Which, again, if you like chaos, this is perfect for you. At level 6, you get Bend Luck, which immediately after someone else rolls a d20 test, you can take a reaction and spend a sorcery point and roll a d4 to apply that roll either as a bonus or penalty to the d20 roll, which is a nice little twist in there. It's nothing too big, but if your fighter missed by 1 you can use that and know it's an automatic hit. At level 14, you get Controlled Chaos, which you gain some control over the wild magic that you have, and you basically get advantage on the wild magic surge table. So those super deadly things won't occur as much just because you're getting advantage on doing that. And then finally, at level 18, you get Tamed Surge. So immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell with spell slot, you can create an effect of your choice from the wild magic surge table instead of rolling on the table. You can choose any effect on the table except for the final row. If the chosen effect involves a roll, you must make it. And then it goes through all of the wild magic surges down here, and it is a bunch. But that is all of the subclasses for the sorcerer that is in the player's handbook. We will be going over the other subclasses as well, and if there's any that you wanted to see first, please put it down in the comments. Please let me know, and I hope that you enjoyed, you learned something, and you're able to apply this to your games. Again, if you have any questions about the subclasses or want any help building your character, whether it's you get to the subclasses or you're going into level 4 with feats or anything before I make a video on it, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help someone that needs help with building their character. So please let me know. I hope that you like the video, share it, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.